Gunpowder Weapons and Imperial Consolidation by Brian Gonzalez and Eddie Guzman. Hello everyone, my name is Brian Gonzalez and I'm going to be talking about gunpowder weapons during the Trajan Empire in the Indian Ocean and South Asia. Warfare changed in extreme and lasting ways in the period covered in this time. In almost every arena, the weapons used, tactics deployed, strategies pursued, the scale and organization of land and sea forces, and the impact of warfare on states and societies. The chemistry of gunpowder, which consists of charcoal, saltpeter, and sulfur. Charcoal consists of broken down cellulose and provides carbon and other fuel for the reaction. Saltpeter is a common name for potassium nitrate. It supplies oxygen for the combustion reaction. And sulfur is also referred as a brimstone, which lowers the ignition temperature required to start the reaction. Gunpowder, also known as black powder to distinguish it from modern smokeless powder, is the earliest known chemical explosive. Although the Chinese invented explosives, Europeans adapted them for guns. European metalwork advanced to the point that smiths were able to forge the first guns and cannons. Their accuracy was limited, but their power as weapons was awesome by the standards of the time. Guns and gunpowder allowed European explorers to intimidate and defeat virtually any enemy. So what kind of gunpowder weapons were used during this time? By the early 1400s, gunpowder technology was incorporated into the arquebus. The arquebus was a shoulder-fired firearm which used the matchlock mechanism, the first mechanism to facilitate the firing of a handheld firearm. The trigger on early arquebuses were similar to those of medieval crossbows. Adding a matchlock made the firing action simple and reliable by a single soldier, allowing them to keep both hands steadying the gun and eyes on the target while firing. The typical range of a mascot shot to be somewhere between the two extremes of 160 and 360 yards. The matchlock arquebus began to be used by the Janissary Corps of the Ottoman army in the first half of the 15th century by the 1440s. One of the first European innovations in the field of gunpowder weapons entailed a big and boisterous cannon that was held by hand, known as the culverin, or hand culverin. It preceded even flintlock muskets, with the seemingly simple technology accounting for a hollow tube fixed on a wooden staff. This unwieldy contraption was held against the shoulder or above the shoulder to provide stability while aiming. As for the firing part, the user ignited the powder with a rope soaked in slow-burning potassium nitrate, which fueled the spark into the breech and lighted up the main charge. This gunpowder-based weapon system was pretty dangerous for the user. The culverin was used to bombard targets from a distance. It was typically about 10 to 13 feet long. The era between 1450 and 1750 saw the appearance of several land-based empires who built their power on the use of gunpowder. The period of the gunpowder empires refers to the epoch of the Ottoman, Safavid, and Mughal empires from the 16th century to the 18th century. Each of these empires were Islamic and had considerable military and economic success. The Ottoman Empire is known today as a major gunpowder empire, famous for its prevalent use. This staple of modern warfare as early as the 16th century used massive cannons to batter down the walls of Constantinople in 1453, when gunpowder weapons were just beginning to gain their potency. The Ottoman Empire was one of the first empires to implement gunpowder-based artillery. They also implemented the use of muskets, which allowed them to greatly overpower their foes and rivals. This not only helped them expand the empire even more vastly, but also gave the rest of the world some insight into how to make advancements into their own military technology. The Safavid Empire developed east of the Ottomans, encompassing land space that is now known as the modern Iran. strong army equipped with firearms but had no navy. The Safavids learned the value of firearms and artillery early from the neighboring Ottomans. Third Gunpowder Empire. India's Mughal Empire offers perhaps the most dramatic example of modern weaponry carrying the day. This army used a combination of traditional horse cavalry tactics and new fangled cannons. They were a strong military that attacked from the west.
Hello everyone, my name is Eddie Guzman and I will be talking about the imperial consolidation that occurred in 1500 to 1763. It started off with the Emperor Babur, who ruled from 1526 to 1530. He was in constant warfare, defeating the Afghan warlords with the use of the gunpowder weapons, allowing Babur to conquer south into India. One of Babur's famous wars was the Battle of Panipat, which perfected the use of cannons. Some 16,000 men died in this battle. Babur celebrated by plundering the great city of Agra. With the advances in guns, Babur was able to conquer land, driving his successors south. After Babur's death, which occurred in 1530, his son Humayun was next to rule. He ruled from 1530 to 1555, but unfortunately he suffered many setbacks along the way. As mentioned earlier, Humayun suffered many setbacks, and the reason for that being was because he had an opium addiction, which led to a withdrawal in troops. His regime had the Ottoman Empire have an ill fate. Another Afghan warlord rose and conquered about the same as Babur in the north. Humayun went into exile but returned to India aided by guns. In 1555, Humayun used firepower to regain his father's conquest. His death occurred in 1556, but his 12-year-old son Akbar would take over. Akbar the Great would rule from the years 1555 to 1605. Akbar married Safavid and Hindu princesses. He invented his own religion, Sohi-Kul, which is a universal peace. The end of regime. Realm extended from Afghanistan to Bengal and south to Mumbai. The next emperor was Jahangir, who ruled from 1605 to 1627. He was less ambitious than his father. His addictions led him to hand power to his wife, Nur Jahan. Jahangir took Mughal court splendor to new heights. He was a devoted patron of the arts. After Emperor Jahangir's rule, Jahan, who ruled from 1628 to 1658, ruled, and after him ruled Aurangzeb, who ruled from 1658 to 1707. They both carried the empire south of the subcontinent. Religion was an important factor in imperial expansion as technology. One of the main important factors to its successes is because of the guns used. Jahan was an observant but tolerant Muslim. Aurangzeb was a true holy warrior who called for a return to orthodoxy and eliminated unauthorized practices. Aurangzeb's religious fervor was a major force in the last phase of the Mughal expansion. The main enemy was Prince Shivaji because of the advancements in guns from Aurangzeb's military. Because of the advancements in guns by Aurangzeb's military, it helped capture several of Shivaji's forts. During Shivaji's rule, they sent off by Aurangzeb, but after his death, the Shivaji's people bounced back within a few decades and won recognition of their homeland. The Mughal stagnation and contraction set in with Aurangzeb's successor Muhammad, who ruled from 1720 to 1738. The Emperor Muhammad lost to Delhi and the great Mughal treasury to Iran's Nadir Shah, the successor to the Safavids in 1739. The empire fell under the regime of Shah Alam II, who took the throne in 1759, falling under British influence in 1763. Throughout the time, the Mughals switched between peace to deadly forces, made many alliances with subject peoples by offering a share of power. In the Mughal Empire, emperors like Akbar and Shah spent most of the time meditating, expanding palace structure, and organizing tribute collection. By Akbar's time, most taxes were paid in cash. The Mughal Empire was constantly at war with Muslims and southern Hindus. Christian Europeans were seen as commercial allies to the Mughal Empire. The Mughal Empire was seen to be successful throughout the years, but with Muhammad, the successor of Aurangzeb, he gave high taxes and reliance on cannon rather than artillery. This destabilized the empire, but problems arose with imperial overstretch and excessive taxation. This led to the start of the downfall of the Mughal Empire.